The next station will be Fortuna 69.
After playing around with the Kuvalich system for a while, I can safely conclude that the only part of the Kuvalich system that I have fun with is the part where I'm vanquishing the Kuvalich. That isn't to say that the system doesn't have potential. Buggy, yeah. It's buggy as hell. But if you ask me, Kuvaliches are appealing because they represent the first unique enemy for a player that can easily kill them without having to be a level 140 corrupted bombard. Part of the reason why people dislike the Kuvalich system is because, while having to figure out the 3 Requiem mods to kill your Lich takes time, nobody likes being punished for getting a wrong attempt in. While it's understandable that Liches are supposed to be a big antithesis for the player, having them get stronger for free just because you didn't get the Requiem sequence right the first time. However, that brings up an interesting question. If Liches can't easily get just as strong if not stronger than the player, then what's the point of them? Everyone knows that Warframe gives an asinine amount of power to the players, whether it be through Riven mods or specific builds. Because of that, it's pretty common for somebody to just breeze through content only to be suddenly halted by high-level enemies that suddenly don't melt in one shot anymore. While this is mostly due to enemy scaling being a fucking mess, there has to be a point where the power of the players can't just dominate everything in order for a challenge in Warframe to exist. This is where Kuvaliches come in. On paper, the point of a Kuvalich is to be a big opposing force that the player has to figure out and accordingly deal with, because unlike traditional enemies, Kuvaliches can use powers, Kuvaliches don't go away easily, and most importantly, Kuvaliches can get stronger. Because enemy scaling itself is a clusterfuck, having a Kuvalich get stronger almost silently forces the player to have put on their absolute best gear in order to defeat them. Is that fun? Well, that's debatable. Having an enemy be so strong that only your most powerful equipment is viable is kind of enticing, because that implies that you'll finally have to take an enemy seriously, but at the same time, that also means that everything else you own and have built becomes kind of pointless. That's to be expected, because there's no such thing as a game where every single item or weapon is not better or worse than any other. However, in the case of Warframe being a PvE game, that's kind of a giant middle finger to the player, because having a Kuvalich reach the peak of its strength is basically saying,
"Lol. Good fucking luck killing me without a tank."
Again, the Kuvalich system is still in its very early stages, primarily because it's also supposed to be part of the still ongoing Railjack update, but that doesn't mean that Kuvaliches can't be improved. For instance, having the Kuvalich get stronger for free purely because you did not get the Requiem mod sequence right just feels cheap, to say the least. While it's effective at making the Lich become more of an enemy to you, it's not fun. Suppose for example if instead of getting a level up every time you die, what if Kuvaliches got stronger either slowly over time or a little bit stronger every time you complete a Lich-controlled node? For one, that would mean that Kuvaliches become more of an active threat rather than a passive one, because leaving them alone would mean they get stronger for free, and their influence would expand to potentially the entire star chart, meaning you'd be shooting yourself in the foot by letting the Kuvalich take your loot from basically any mission. Secondly, that would mean that Kuvaliches would behave more like an actual threat you have to work towards, rather than an enemy you can ignore while you do other missions and tasks. Sure, that's not going to be an idea that everyone likes, and that's perfectly understandable. You can't make a game that everyone enjoys in the same way, because everyone has different tastes and appeals. Regardless, Warframe suffers from having something that actively gets players to come back, besides just sorties, Maru's weekly Iatan hunt, and Nightwave to some extent. If Kuvaliches gave better rewards and if they actually responded to you progressing through their territory by slowly getting stronger, then it would be more reason to either convert them so you'd have a companion that can actually deal damage, or it would be more reason for you to kill them for their weapon and to get your loot back. Of course, that's just me. Overall, the most fun part of the Kuvalich update is the random name generator. Thank you for watching.